So first I wanted to ask if you guys had any questions about some of the material that we've covered so far before I move into the next thing. Or even if it's just a general question, that's totally fine too. It doesn't have to necessarily be about media stuff. If you have any questions about what I'm doing or how I'm getting results, we always cover, if you're new, if this is your first time here, we cover so many topics. I usually pick one thing that I kind of teach and walk you through, but other than that, we can talk about pretty much anything. So I'm looking in the question things, and if you have any questions, you can hit that reactions thing. Does anyone have any questions, or just put your hand up if I can see you? Okay, there we go. So we got Lottie first. Ask to unmute. Right, I think I did it. Did I do that right? I'm still learning how to do this. Lottie, can you?
Yeah, I can hear you.
There we go, Lottie. Okay. So you have a question for me?
Oh, I was just raising my hand, announce that I was here, but
got it. Okay. Okay, no worries. All right, I'm going to mute you then from here. Then, if you have any questions, just let me know. Okay, we got Connor. What's going on, Connor?
Hey, Christine, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you? Thanks for joining.
Good. Yeah, I just I was excited. I was looking forward to it all week. So
awesome.
But yeah, I just had, it's great to be here and everything. I just had a question. You're talking about press releases. Is it like, I found a group called Authority Titans through Dylan Kibo, and it's pretty reasonable. Like, it was like a couple $100 for 2 articles, like 100 each for an article, and they wrote it was very well written articles. Would that count as a press release? If I gave them a lot of the information and we kind of wrote it together, and it's just songs that I'm about to release, and it's it's kind of talks about my story and kind of what I'm trying to do. Does that sort of count as, and can I use that for my press release?
Absolutely. There are services where people write killer press releases for you. That's awesome. Especially when they're a lot of times they're professional, so they know a lot of the stuff to say and how to word things. I would say on your end, just if you are going to hire someone to do it, just make sure you have, like you said, you wrote it with them, which is great. That's the best way to go about it. And share things about your story that make you interesting. Just like in the course that I have, in the mini course, if you guys have looked at it inside of the membership, it talks about creating something called talking points, right? So if you showed up to an interview, in your talking points, you're going to have like maybe 5 very interesting things about you. My talking points are that I went door to door selling my music. That's a big one, so you would kind of have that's a good topic to talk about. So yeah, just as long as you have some interesting things in that press release. A press release should normally be short anyway, like 1 page. But if in one of those paragraphs you have something about your story, something that makes you interesting, about whether it be the song, maybe you wrote the song about a loved one that you lost or something, or whether it be about your musical journey, maybe you've overcome something, some sort of challenge.
It really draws them in.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead. So yeah, as long as you have some, cool, like those key elements in there, that's great. It's never, what I tell everyone about getting in media, it's never just about the song. You don't want to just talk. The song is almost just like the last thing that you kind of touch on. You want to talk about why you wrote it, or why you do music, or, what you've done that makes you interesting and makes you a story. Because that's
it's very related. Yeah, that definitely answers a lot of my question. I mean, it's about like relatability and being likable and people liking you and relating to your story. That's exactly what talking points do for that.
Yep. Awesome. Okay, great. Yeah, and congrats. I'm glad you got that. And then plus you can make different press releases depending on who you're reaching out to, right? If you're reaching out to, like I've told everyone, let's say I was reaching out to a blog that supports single moms, right? Maybe it's like single moms everywhere, like some sort of community online. If I was reaching out to them, my headline, my content, I'm going to talk about how I'm a single mom that makes music. But if I'm reaching out to like another magazine that really just focuses on maybe people that have interesting, songs about, I told everyone before that I reached out to a blog
Target market.
that had that they supported like veterans and that sort of thing, veterans families. And I had a song that had, some military actors and stuff in it. It was a song of my family's very military. So whenever I wrote them, my press release talked about how my family had a military background, because that blog geared towards supporting military, involvement and that sort of thing. So, and it doesn't mean you have to rewrite the whole press release, but you might just add a line in there that says, Christine, Morel, single mom, or, military family and military. And then you get onto the story.
That's right. And the song, works for that audience. And then they're like, oh, wow, Christine, has a military background. And that kind of adds to the relatability and kind of being like family almost, sort of, with them, or not, but, or
no,
being,
totally.
yeah,
Yep.
being family in some ways.
And the relevance to that outlet, which is what I was going to get into today, because I didn't really cover that in the course. So today I'm going to be talking to you guys about that a little bit. So
Awesome.
All right. Thank you, Connor.
Yeah. Thanks, Christine.
All right. I got
You
Matthew.
got a question? Oh,
All right, Matthew, I have you on here. Do you have a question? Let me see if you're still there, Matthew. No, nothing. Okay, I'll move on to the next person.
Hello.
Hey, Ronnie. Whoa, was that you,
Oh.
Matthew? Or Ronnie?
Could you hear me?
I can hear someone. Who is that?
Oh, it's Matt.
Matt. Okay, cool.
go
All
ahead.
right, Matthew, what's going on?
It's my first Zoom meeting, so I'm just trying to figure it out right now. Oh, there we go.
Did you have any specific questions or anything that I could help you with right now at the moment, or explain a little better for you?
I'm just kind of listening in.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, cool. I saw that you had raised your hand, so you didn't have any specific questions then?
Oh, okay, yeah. I was just wondering how people sign 360 deals.
How they sign them or why they sign them?
How?
How to get a deal.
Oh, you're trying to get a deal. You're talking about how to get a deal. I mean, getting a record deal, that's a really long answer. I got my first deal after I had a song that went viral online, but that doesn't always happen. I had a song that I posted online and I had a ton of interest from people all over the world. And so I ended up signing a deal, but I got a group signed to Capitol Records and they didn't have any music at all. They were just really great performers. And that happened to be that they were just, I connected them and, they showed interest in who these boys were, because at the time there was that other big boy group that Simon Cowell had signed, and these were kind of like the Latin versions of them. So they got a record deal. I mean, everyone signs deals for lots of different reasons. That's a very, very, very broad question, but usually deals are created now when someone has already built a buzz, when someone already has a kind of a thriving music business, and then they get a deal. It's not very common now that people get deals if they're just starting out and they don't have anything to bring to the table. It's kind of like a business partnership. So it's kind of like, I always tell everyone, I'm like, just because you have a cookie recipe doesn't mean you deserve a restaurant, right? That's
Right.
really basic thing. Usually you have to come to the table with, hey, I got the recipes, I've built this, I have clientele, I've tried, I have a small restaurant, I just need an extra push. So a lot of that deals are usually created when both the label and yourself are bringing something really promising to the table, not just talent. It's never just talent.
Okay.
There's one note I would make about record deals in the 2020 to 2021 year span. From what I understand, the majors are not looking at artists that don't have viral potential anymore. So you do have to build your social media up to a point where you are getting across social media platforms 100 to 250K hits a month. So let's say you had Spotify and all the other different streaming platforms, those would count too. So, you know, if across 5 or 6 platforms, each of them get like around 20K a month, that would hit that 100K kind of mark.
Yeah,
the
but
reason why I know this is because I was, oh, sorry.
Oh, Carrie,
ahead, sorry.
I was going to say, just so that I share this, 'cause I don't want anybody to get mixed up here too much. That does help, but it's not necessary. It's not
Yes,
necessary at all.
immensely.
So I've gotten 2 deals for 2,
Oh.
with a group and a guy, and neither one of them had.
Oh,
any.
you've gotten deals without them.
Yes.
Everywhere
So
I went last year, everybody was slamming the door on me without that. It was so weird, but that's amazing.
You just have to
if
bring
you did.
something to the table. It doesn't have to be, because just because you're getting viral or you have videos that go over. I have a friend that has 1 billion plays on YouTube, 1 billion, and she doesn't have a record deal. Like, she's literally 1 billion. I don't know anybody else that has 1 billion plays on YouTube and she can't get a deal. It doesn't mean that you're going to get one, and it's not necessary. You have to bring
That's right.
something to the table.
You don't need the labels.
Yeah, it's just not that. So, but it does help. It does help, absolutely, but it doesn't mean that it's necessary. I just want to get that across, because I've not only gotten myself signed, but I've gotten 2 other, I've also gotten a group and another solo artist signed, and that wasn't the case in any of those. In my case, I did have a single that was getting like plays and listens and that sort of thing. So it did help, but that wasn't the main reason. There was a lot of other things that went into that. There was a lot of other, I had a whole album recorded that I had already invested in, that the label didn't have to spend any money on recording costs. Like that's like $100 grand that they didn't have to spend. There was a lot of other things that went into that. And I actually didn't even start making a good amount of money until I went independent anyway. Even though I signed with the label, I didn't make any money when I was with the label. It wasn't until I left that I started making 6 figures on my own. When I was with the label, I was broke. So there's a lot of, there's a lot of stuff that goes back and forth on that. But those things definitely help. It helps for you to have traffic. It helps for you to have attention. But just because you have traffic doesn't mean you have money. And just because you have money doesn't mean you have traffic. I told you guys many times about my friend, Frankie Moreno, who has the 34 number ones. And I use him as an example all the time, but he has 34 number 1 Billboard records. He has like 2,000 listeners on Spotify. That's not his market, but he does hundreds of thousands of dollars in sales just off his music a year. And that's because his market, they're older people and he emails them, but if a label was looking at, do you think a label really cares about whether he has 2,000 Spotify listens or whether he's generating 100,000, more than hundreds of thousands of dollars a year on his own? They're going to really, really like that because he's already profitable, but now he doesn't need a label though. So he's like, why would I sign, right? So, usually it's, people need the label. So, okay, I have Ronnie. Yes.
First of all, thank you for what you're doing. You're helping everybody out. I'm really happy to be here because you've done a lot in your life, and to share those secrets, it's useful, My question on the press release is, because I've had not so great results with it, do I put my own phone number? Because I've done that before, and all I get is spam calls, and so I stopped just trying to do press releases, or maybe I was distributing them wrong. Are you going to touch?
I want to ask you, where are you sending your press releases to?
You know what? I use a site called Fiverr. There's a lot of things that people sell you. Mm-hmm. So just like they'll advertise, they'll write your press release and distribute it. So I'm not real sure where they're sending everything out.
See, that's why those people on Fiverr, they're like, I'll send your page to 150 people for $10, right? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It sounds too good to be true. It is. So, they're not customizing the press release. When I mentioned about like, hey, if I was reaching out to a blog that, supports single moms, I'm using myself as an example. I'm going to want to write a press release that talks about how I'm a single mom. Well, those people that are submitting for you, they're not changing the headline. They're not writing out the email. They're probably just putting in a bulk email sender and just sending it. And so the thing about getting in media is it does take time. It does take time. Either you're going to spend time or money, and hiring PR is very expensive. You can easily spend thousands of dollars a month. If you're going to do it yourself, then you need to spend the time. And that was what I'm going to get into here in a little while. I'll cover a little bit more about that. And it'll, hopefully I'll answer your question once I get into that area.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's a great question. Actually, I'm going to talk about it today. So, yeah. And then does anyone have anything else? Any other questions? I'm going to get into basically how to, because we've talked about how to write a press release. You know, we've talked about how to email them. And if you're new on the call, don't worry. We cover all that inside of either the replays or inside of the mini course that says how to get yourself published in media. That's in your membership platform when you sign in. But I'm going to cover a little bit more today about how to, I guess, kind of how to more appropriately find people that are interested in you, right? Because if you're just writing the wrong people, then you're wasting your time and you're not going to get featured. And you're probably going to feel like maybe, you know, it's not going to work out for you, but really it's not. It's sometimes it's just that you're reaching out to the wrong people. So we're going to get into that. So if your question has anything to do with that, I'll get into that in a bit. But if you have any question, Brittany, okay, where's Brittany at? Let me see, where are you? You don't have to come on camera to ask the question, no. You can just put it in the chat if you'd like. Ross said, will we ever bring him on? Because that's what I was aiming for with my email list. Yeah, actually I am. I'm going to bring, yeah, Frankie's going to be on. I already talked to him. He's going to come. We just haven't set a date yet. He was the one with all the #1 billboards. Brittany, all right, you're writing something. Let me see if there's any other questions in here. Ross says you're making a new press release for your album, which is done. Just making relevant talking points. Yeah. And those talking points that I talk about, like those really help. Like imagine if you were a TV anchor or maybe you were going to a podcast, you know, and you're showing up. If someone has to sit there and kind of pull information out of you, it's kind of hard. But if you show up and you have a sheet, or you've emailed them ahead of time and said, these are 5 interesting things about me, if you want to talk about those, you know, maybe it's how you started music. Maybe it's why you wrote this song. Maybe it's how you financed it. You know, I've told you guys the stories about me. Like I had hot dog stands. I've had horchata stands. I've had nacho stands. You know, I've sold all kinds of stuff. That's interesting stuff that people are going to want to talk about, but they're not going to know to ask those questions. You know, it's not a standard question to say, hey, did you ever have a nacho stand, you know, to finance your music career? You know, they don't know that. So it's always good to have just kind of, maybe you don't have 3 talking points, but just something that gives them something to work with, instead of them just asking, so what's your inspiration? Where do you see yourself in 5 years? You know, those are really kind of boring, generic questions. And for you, it helps you to have those 5 kind of interesting things in your head already, because if you do show up to an interview where someone's kind of asking you boring questions, you can kind of segue into it, right? So if somebody's like, hey, where'd you get your start? And then you already know, you know, most people might just say, well, I've always liked music since I was a kid. But in your head, you've already gone through those things that make you interesting. You're going to say, you know, in my case, it's, man, I always had a dream of doing music, and I decided that I wasn't going to, you know, say that I wasn't going to stop until I, you know, made it happen. I had hot dog stands. I had horchata stands. I used to sell my music door to door. I used to sing on people's doorsteps. You know, you already have that in the back of your head. So you're not having to sit there in the interview going, oh my gosh, how do I answer that? And then after the interview, you're like, man, I should have said this. I could have said that, you know, and you're stumbling over your words instead. That's why it's so great to kind of have just write, and I call them talking points, but just like 5 things about you that are interesting, about whether it be, you know, you're growing up. And it doesn't always have to be about music. I tell people that I raised a pig. You know, I tell people that I worked in a tortilla factory and fed the pig tortillas. Like his name was cacahuate. That means peanut in Spanish. You know, my cacahuate was like 150 pounds. He was a big ass pig, you know, and that's what I raised that pig. And there were pecan orchards. And, you know, I was, every day I looked at that pig going, one day I'm going to be a singer. I'm not going to be raising pigs anymore. You know, that's a cool story to share. So I keep that in the back of my head, you know, so keep, you know, go through, and it has nothing to do with music, but I segued into, hey, but I always wanted to be a singer. I knew that raising pigs was not my future, you know, so you can always kind of segue into, but just have those kind of things on the back of your head so you're ready for it. And let me see here. You mentioned Sizzle. I'm trying to see your question, Brittany. I think I see that you wrote it. You said, I can sing and my teacher says I am ready to record. How do I find people to do that with? I know a skilled singer is pretty rare. Should I do it free, charge, etc.? How do I do this? Actually, skilled singers are not rare. It's very easy to find good singers. We come a dime a dozen. So that's why I always tell everyone it's so important for us to work harder than everybody else, because just because we're talented doesn't mean that there's not a million other talented people just like us. There's plenty of people that sing better than me, play better than me. They're just everything better. But I've had a lot of success because of my work ethic and because, you know, I'm organized and I have a plan and that sort of thing. So let's start there. Okay. So there's a lot of skilled singers. So how do you find people to record with? It depends on what your goals are. So if you're trying to record your own album, if you're trying to do something like that, then there's a lot of different things that you can do. If you're trying to find producers, I've found producers, band members in a lot of different ways. I've done that by posting on Facebook, where I'll just tell people exactly what I'm looking for. I do that by posting on Craigslist. And then you can also, if you have a budget, you can go to websites like soundbetter.com. That's one of my favorites. You can go on there and sound better. I'll write it in the chat so you guys can see this, because this is a pretty cool one. And not only can you hire people, you can also offer your own services on there. So if you're a singer and you would like to get hired, you know, I told you guys the story of how I used to sing on rappers' songs, right? Rappers needed hooks. So I would charge a few $100 to sing on rapper songs. And a lot of that just happened like kind of just organically. I didn't really post it out there, but you can actually put your, you can put it, someone else says Production Hub is also good. I haven't been to Production Hub. I'll have to check that one out, but soundbetter.com is a good one because you can go on there and you can put your rates, you know, so if someone writes a song and they need you to sing it, or maybe you're a rapper, or maybe you're a guitarist, maybe you play the saxophone, maybe you're a mixing engineer, you know, any of those things, you can put all of those services that you have available on there. So then you can also make money while on there. And you can also find other people to collaborate with. So I've found producers on there. I found someone when I needed a horn section for one of my songs. So I went on there, I think I paid like $100 or something, and got someone to play some horns on a record that I wanted to have on. So it's pretty cool. So you get, you know, kind of double both. So let me see. Let me see the other, let me make sure that I answered that question right. So you're saying, should I do it free? Again, if your goal is to sell your services as a singer, you know, that's it. It just depends on where you are. If you're barely starting out, if you don't have recordings already, then it is good free things so that you can gather recordings so that you can then post it on your profile and show people samples of your work before you try to get paid for it. If you already have really high quality samples of your work, then you can absolutely post on Sound Better and put that you charge, you know, $100 an hour or whatever it is that you charge. But a lot of them are going to expect you to have a studio and for you to record it yourself and for you to send it back. Or you just include those prices in your price. You know, maybe it's $150 an hour and you have to go pay a studio $35 an hour to record your vocals, something like that. But just whatever it is, you just always try to think of yourself as you're competing with other singers. So you need to present yourself in a way that shows, you know, how awesome your voice is, that you've worked with other people. You want to make sure to have great, you know, images or videos or whatever it is that you have on your profiles to really sell you. It's kind of like when you know, if you were going to buy a cookie and it was in this like shitty green paper, you know, it could be the most amazing cookie ever, but if it's not packaged right, sometimes people don't see the talent that is there, right? So you want to package yourself as well as you can, which is why we do the press release. You know, you could be the most interesting person in the world, but if you don't have something that makes you look professional and prepared and that you take this seriously, a lot of people won't even look your way. They won't even listen. So a lot of that's really important too. So I hope that answers your question, Brittany. I think that was Brittany. It says my Mac, but I'm assuming that it's you, Brittany. Whenever you said, what is the best approach to write about your band? It's easy to write about you, but having troubles with how to even start writing about your band. That's a good question. You can talk about how you guys met. You can also talk about, no, you don't want to talk about how you guys met. Okay. Or you can unmute because I can't hear you.
So how we met is pretty just normal. Like there's nothing special about it. Like the only thing is my drummer, when I was in an old band, my drummer now was in a different band. So I got them to open for us. And then I quit the other band because the fact that I was doing everything, like here in Vancouver and stuff like that too. If you don't have a promoter, you don't have any of this, and you don't have anything yet, like you have to do it yourself. So I was like, so the pay to play. And I was like, I don't care. It's money that I'm going to invest in myself. It doesn't matter. I'm going to get us a buzz. This is how it's going to happen. And they didn't want to do any of it. So I even would like coffee shops, no matter where I went, I was like talking to the waitress and be like, hey, what are you doing later? Blah, 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 blah. You like music? Like, this is how I would sell tickets. Yeah. And I sold out the show because of it, but my bandmates did nothing. So I was like, okay, I'm done with that. And then we had to hire a new drummer because our drummer quit. And I was like, okay. And from that show, we had like 9 or 10 more bookings from that one show. So like we were going to book, and then I was like, hey, so I asked the new drummer, he had 3 months to learn this new song, learn all the new songs. We had the old drummer do this show that we had. And I asked him like, hey, so we have a new show, like we have a show like next week. How quick can we get on this? And the drummer's like, I didn't even do anything yet. I was like, okay, you know what? I'm done with this band. I was like, for the fact of this, we built a buzz for everybody.
Hi, Christine.
And then this happened.
Thank you.
Sorry.
That's okay.
I have, I'm not sure who said hi, but hello, welcome. I have everyone muted just because we're kind of going back and forth. If you wanted to say anything or if you have any questions, I was just going to say to hit the reactions down there on the bottom right, just because we have a full room. So to keep it kind of organized or whatever. So I'm going to hit mute, but I know whenever I can unmute you for that. So, well, you know, you told me a little bit about your story, which was, I think it was you were raised by strippers and drug addicts or something, right? What was your funny fun story?
So my band now, how we met them. Yeah, I was raised by gang members, and strippers. I was also born dead. So like, I always believed that I was given a second chance before I could even take my first breath. Right.
And so like, you're the lead singer, right? Of the band.
Yes. But the band also sings. So yes, I'm the lead singer, but everybody plays a part in the band. They want to make it so it's more not just about me. I was like, otherwise it's easy to sell.
Right.
So I'm trying to write for the whole band. Like my solo stuff I have as well. And that I can write for. Like I'll be able to do the press release with my guitar player. He's the sound engineer. So it's kind of like that. I can't remember her name. But anyway, so it'd be solo stuff. And then I do it with my guitar player for that. But my band got together and it was just like a summer day and we got together. I just went to the drummer's house, my friend who opened for us. And he's like, hey, we want to start a new band. I'm like, okay, cool. We were going to just do cover bands just to get on stage. So everybody was in different bands before that just kind of went like one of their singers literally got some kind of mental illness and went cuckoo choo choo. That's the reason why their band stopped. Okay. And as they were about to get big, like they were actually getting a lot of traction. And then
I would say this because I'll stop you right there just because for sake of time.
I'm just like,
no, you're okay. And even if the way you guys met is not super interesting, find something interesting about each one of you. So you could say one line about you, right? One line about the bass player, one line about the guitar player. You know, here hails Vanever, who was raised, you know, by this and that. The guitar player who's had challenges with this and that. The bass player who's, you know, done this or that. You know, just something really simple. And they've come together to create this amazing band called the Happy Band, or I don't know what your band is called, but you know, something like that. So like you can offer one little line of each one, because that's really exciting too. You know, there was
my band is actually a Keel. You actually were mentioned. You typed on a bunch of our stuff already.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Okay. Oh, yes, I have. Okay. I'm tying it all together now.
But we're a bunch of misfits. Like every one of us, we don't look like we belong at all.
And that's
all from so many different backgrounds. We look like a puzzle piece, a weird ass puzzle piece that's been put together.
Pieces don't work out, but it's still art. You're like, it looks kind of crazy.
Yeah.
It's what is it called? I forget the type of art that it's called, but hey, it's still art.
Abstract.
Abstract.
I do abstract. I actually paint myself.
No, but that's great. Like that's what's great about being artistic, though. It's like it's not like we're accountants where there's like one formula. You have to do it this way. If you don't do it that, you know, this specific way, you can't arrive at the correct number. In art, we have, you know, we have the opportunity to be ourselves we have the opportunity to dress kind of crazy or not dress crazy if we don't want to. There's plenty of artists who look normal, and there's plenty of artists who look crazy. There's plenty of artists who have had like a crazy tumultuous background, and some that have not. There's never like a one formula to do music. So that's what's great. But if you have something interesting, I would just say take one line from each of you. Find one.
The headline that I was having a lot of troubles with on how I'm going to, like, how is it that I can make it so that that people want to click on it, people want to open it? Like, what is it that a whole band is so much harder to write for than one person? Because anybody can write about themselves or have someone write about them. But I was like, how am I supposed to make it so that they actually, that's what they want?
Right. Well, I mean, off the top of my head, like hearing, your story, it would be something like, if it was just a headline, I don't know anything else about your band, but something like, lead singer, raised in XYZ condition, raised by, strippers, and, then finds home with band members who they come together, as misfits, something like that, where just like what you talked about, like, so you're starting off with the headline with you, but then you include the band with, how they tie into. So kind of how you've all come together in this like crazy family of misfits, which I think is really cool. Because I was reading this article about how they were talking about how when you post on social media, everyone loves to imagine that they're part of a group, right? Not even necessarily a band. It could be a family, it could be a band, it could be, whatever it is. Everyone wants to be a part of the cool kids. So whenever you're a band, it's very powerful. I had a band, we used to perform once a week in Hollywood. Every Wednesday we would go perform there. And I remember there was different people, and I would always ask them what brought them there, because I always was curious. And it was never just one thing, there was always a number of things. But I remember this one lady was like, I just think the guitar player is really cute. And I remember thinking, oh man, that's so, like, it to me, I didn't take it personal at all, but I was thinking, she's here, it's kind of like NSYNC. Like, I was a big fan of NSYNC, right? But everyone has their like favorite band member, their favorite person that they like. And so when you have, when you do collaborations with other people, when you're performing, whether that be your band or, I've done collaborations with other YouTube artists and other, musicians and that sort of thing. When you do that and you share it on social media, you share it online, people immediately want to join. People immediately start thinking, man, I wish I, had a cool group of friends like that. I want to talk to her. I want to talk to him. I want to be a part of that. It opens up a lot of doors for more collaborations. It opens a lot of doors for people wanting to follow you as well. I've seen one of the pictures that I got the most likes on, I think I got like 3,000 likes on, was a very simple picture that I posted of me and a girlfriend that I used to play. And I didn't think anything of it. I never would have thought that would have gotten so much love, but it was the fact that there's two girls, like, to someone sing that, she had her guitar and I had a piano. Here's two women here playing music together. That was enough that people wanted to hit like, and I've posted tons of other stuff that I've spent way much more time trying to, create a little buzz, but people really like that. So I think actually, the band and having is an advantage. And everyone else that's here solo collaborating and sharing that you're collaborating also really helps with, bringing in people that are interested, that want to follow you, that become interested in you and your music. And again, always remember, people aren't falling in love with just your music. They're falling in love with you. Once they fall in love with you, they'll support everything you have going on. So whether you're, creating funny stuff online, whether you're posting, selfies and photos and videos of you performing, it doesn't always have to be music related. You're creating relationships with people. It's very different than thinking of it as a business where you're just selling something. You're not selling the music. It's like you're selling yourself. Once people really like you, they will go to all your shows. They will join all your crowdfunding. They will do all of that. And that's why it's so important to constantly post and stay in touch with people. Write everybody back. Respond to everybody, unless they're inappropriate or weird or something. You don't have to, obviously.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And even though, well, because I guess hip hop is still kind of one of our avenues as well. I've worked a lot with Wu-Tang Clan and stuff like that too for years. I should probably put that in there too, right?
Yeah, it's probably a big deal.
I was like,
That-
there's like two of the members that are really, really close, and they keep wanting me to come to LA. But I was like, that before all of this happened, and I'm like, okay, I'm coming.
Yeah, put that in there. Or if they've said something that's like, you know, big compliment, you could say so and so from Wu-Tang Clan. You can.
Well, yeah. When I went to Vegas and did the big, huge, like, it was a big singing competition in Vegas. Killer Priest literally just met me there so he could actually be there to support me. And then he was doing some couple other things too. But he was like, "Let's go!" And I was like, "Okay, cool."
Let's do it. Yeah, exactly. Okay, cool. I hope that answers your question.
Thank you.
No problem. No problem. Okay, let's see if there's any other questions here. Alex says, is it free to write a press release? Where do I start? Yes, it is free. So you can write one or you can hire someone to do it. I have in your membership portal, you can sign in there and I actually cover how to do that. And most importantly, like we've talked about, it's really important for you to make yourself interesting, not just about your music, but about your story. I don't want to go too far into that just because I've gone into that really heavily in some of the other webinars, but you can find it in the membership platform. And as long as you're subscribed to my YouTube, you can always see these replays. So you can always see where I've talked about those things. But yes, to answer your question, it is free to write it. I mean, you're just writing it at home, but you can also hire someone to write it if you don't feel confident in your writing abilities. So, all right, Connor, what's your thoughts on Bandcamp? I have a Bandcamp. I don't use it that much, to be completely honest. I have mainly focused on building my email list through other platforms, but any way that you can build your email list, whether it be Bandcamp, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, all of the above, preferably, use it as much as you can. But just keep in mind that whatever you do, your email list is the most powerful thing that you can possibly build. Everyone focuses on trying to get Spotify, and I've said it so many times, but I'm just gonna say it again. Spotify will pay you a fraction of a penny for those plays. And it's way more valuable if you can get someone's email, because they have to listen to your song 750 times for you to make $1. But if you get an email and one person just buys one download, you can make $1. You can sell an album for $10. You can sell a t-shirt for $25. We've talked about how all you need is 1,000 super fans, 1,000 people that spend $100 with you a year. They might buy a shirt, CD, and maybe a concert ticket or something. And you're making $100,000 a year. That's all you need. You just need 1,000 people that are super fans that will do that. You don't have to be wildly famous. You don't have to have achieved global success or anything like that for you to make a good living here. So whatever avenue,
those are the important people.
You know.
Definitely.
Okay, cool. Did that answer your question, Alex?
Yeah, I did. Like I use DistroKid. We're using that, for the label that I'm putting together with a couple people. My producer and a couple other people. And DistroKid, I think you can't use DistroKid and CD Baby together, but you can use like
Those are music
Bandcamp.
distribution. Those are different though. Music distribution,
okay.
Those will just get you on Spotify and iTunes.
Yeah.
That doesn't help you build your email list though. So
The
that's
email
just
list is-
yeah, your email list is built entirely different. So your email list. Oops, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. I cut you off. I was just
no
saying
worries.
the email list. Is the email list like, is that more Bandcamp's?
I'm not
I'm
sure.
still
I
learning.
was mentioning I have a Bandcamp, but I don't use it very well. I was mentioning that I build my email list mainly through Bandzoogle, Instagram, Facebook. I use all the social media platforms. We talked about last week, and I can mention a few ways to do this, but keep in mind that the reason why your email list is so powerful is because you can reach out to people forever. You can reach out to them for the rest of your life. When you're releasing your next album, releasing your next single, releasing merchandise, going on tour, you can reach them forever, and it shows up in their inbox. If someone just goes to your Spotify, there's nothing for them to buy. There's nothing for them to buy a ticket or to join a list or anything like that. They listen to a song, you get paid a tiny little fraction of a penny, and then they're gone. So it's not really very valuable. What's really, really valuable is that you build that email list. In Bandcamp, I do believe there's a way to do it. I'm not an expert with Bandcamp at all, but I'm assuming that there is, because Bandcamp is built for musicians, and anyone that makes a living off of music has an email list typically.
And it's possibly Bandzoogle was in there as well. I'm not sure.
Bandzoogle is good. They definitely have one. And what you want to do is on your website, you just at the very top, you have a, hey, do you want a free song? Join my email list. So you always give something to get something, because no one's just going to join your email list. No one's going to do that. So, because it just sounds boring, right? But if they know that they can get a free song out of it, then they're going to go, okay, now I have a reason to join. And then you start sending them emails. And we're going to talk about email marketing in because it can get your email list. You can make so much money there. You can really, really create your business there as an artist, and you can create really, really great relationships with your fans where they're going to stick with you forever because you're talking directly to them. I've mentioned that one way that I build my email list, and I talked about it last week, was on Instagram. You'll notice I never tell people to go buy my music on iTunes, ever. I never tell people to go to iTunes or Spotify or anything like that. Instead, I say, hey guys, I'm giving away my song for free. DM me the words free song, and I'll send you the song. Just include your email so I know where to send it. So every time I do that, I might post a clip of a music video coming up, and I'll put, I have a music video coming out. But if you want to hear it before everyone else, DM me the words, I might put the title of the song or something, After the Butterflies, and put your email, and I'll send it to you. So what I'm doing is I'm building my email list because my goal is to make a living as a musician. Other people, sometimes their goal is just to get 1 million plays on Spotify. None of that matters if you're not making a living, right? It sucks if you have to go do, if you're just draining your bank account to create a music career, and you'll never have a music career that makes money if you're not focusing on the things that actually make you able to monetize. I've mentioned, and I've mentioned that my, my friend who has a 34 number ones on Billboard, and I'm going to invite him on. He is going to come on. He has an incredible email list, and he has 2,000 people that listen to him on Spotify, because it doesn't matter. He has an email list of hundreds of thousands of people that buy. He sells hundreds of thousands of singles when he, each year, and makes hundreds of thousands of dollars off of each, And so do you think, he's not really focused on, building anything else? So my whole point in that was, where I was kind of rounding it, is you had just asked about Bandcamp. I just say, use anything, any way that you can create your email list, but just always keep that in mind, that should be your focus. And you guys can Google it and all that kind of stuff to find out more information.
Yeah, you don't want to go in the, you don't want to lose money. You want to make a profit. You don't want to go in the, dig yourself, into debt.
Yes, absolutely. So, okay, so let me see. Big facts, marketing is like 75% of the battle. Yeah, I mean, marketing is a huge, I mean, it's probably even more. It's like 95% of the battle, really, is when you promote yourself. And I'll add something too. This is probably a big one. When you promote yourself online, because I know sometimes it can get kind of like, you don't want to like feel like you're spamming everybody, right? Like, listen to my single, buy my album, because people are going to get annoyed, and they are going to like unfollow you if you do that all the time. But there's other ways that you can do this that it's a little sneakier and way, way better though. It's just way more effective. So if you guys watch, just go on if you go on my Instagram, you'll see a lot of how I've done this. I was just planning out my social media for the week today. So I have posts that are going to go out. I have a post that I made, where I went to Selfie World. There's this place called Selfie World here in Vegas. They have like all kinds of cool like setups, and you can take all kinds of pictures, and it was like $20. So it was amazing. So I got lots of photos. And so I'm posting a photo. Now I could easily just say, oh, check out my selfie, so that I can get likes and follows. But for me, everything should be really intentional. So that post I shared about, what was the story that I shared? Let me pull it up really quick. Let me see if I have it here. I don't think I have it here. I think I have it in something else. Hold on one second, guys. But I shared a particular story about my struggle, right? And you can always segue into different things like this. Like the picture is of me. It's a really cool couch. There's like these neon signs behind me that say like good vibes. And so when you think about, okay, how do I get someone to join my mailing list? with this, right? How do I get them to, or how do I promote my single? Or how do I, get this out there? I'll tell a story. I could have easily told a story about how I raised a pig. Like nobody ever thought that this, pig raising, lawn mowing farm girl, would ever find her way around the world and in, cool settings like this and making a living doing music and that sort of thing. And then I segue into one, there's two things that I either do. One, either you want my song for free, so DM me. So now I'm going to get their email to add to my email list. So I might say, hey, and by the way, PS, if you want my song, DM me. But I'm going to tell a story, right? And this whole thing that I talked to you guys about, your story, it applies all across the board, not just in media, but all in your Instagram and Facebook, on your emails, everything that you do. If you tell a story with everything that you do, it's going to have a bigger effect. I mean, how much better is it for me to tell you the story about how I raised pigs and how I worked in a tortilla factory? But if I just told you, hey, I started from nothing and I built a music career, it doesn't quite have the same effect, right? It just doesn't. But when I tell you I had a pig, his name was Cacahuate. He sat on my dog. I had to roll him over. And my dog was pissed, and my dog, and then the pig was chasing the dog, and my dad was with the big orange bat, plastic bat, hitting Cacahuate with the plastic bat because he wouldn't get away from the pig. All these are funny stories. Like those are going to have a much bigger effect. And then you say, and now here I am as a musician making music I love about the stories of my life. I'd love to give you that song for free. Join my mailing list by DMing me. Instead of you constantly posting a picture of your album cover, a picture of your singles cover, and saying, join my mailing list, buy my album, come to my concert. You can say that over and over and over again without people feeling like you're spamming them. If you tell a story with each one, share a little something from your life. So I just kind of want to share that because that's been a big game changer for me. I used to spam the heck out of everybody. I would post like 10 times a day. And someone actually, my sister did it, but as a joke, but she made a Facebook group that said, get out of my feed, Christine Morel. And then all these people joined it because I was always spamming everybody. They're like, yeah, I know, right? She's just always posting crap. And I thought about that. I'm like, well, okay. My sister did it. I'm like, little hater. But people actually joined it. So I was like, well, I guess there's some truth to that then. I need to think about that. So, tried experimenting with new things. And that was something that I found was really, really effective. Oh, so let me see if there's any other questions in here. Let's see. Do people still hire session singers? Absolutely. Yes. So we just talked about how you can advertise yourself on soundbetter.com. They hire session players. A lot of my friends play guitar or bass or keys and that sort of thing. And they usually get paid like a few $100 or whatever. Or depending on what you work out, if you're more of a seasoned, player, then you could actually get publishing on the song, get paid more money than that. It just depends. You just have to build, your reputation up and that sort of thing. And then you can charge more and make more. But soundbetter.com is a website where you can post yourself up there, that you offer your services as a singer, a songwriter, a producer, a flute player. I mean, just anything that you can do as a musician, you can post on there. Let's see, TuneCore is a great music platform. Yep, Alex, I use TuneCore actually. That's where I get my music on online platforms. So that's a good one. I can improve sound quality. Hey, that's a good one. So Brittany, you said in your industry, they say sell the sizzle, not the steak. Yeah, that's actually really good. That's a good analogy. You're selling the thing, well, as we talk about our story, you're selling that thing that makes you interesting, that thing that gets people like, wow, like, whoa, I want to meet her. I want to be part of what she has going on. It's never just the song. It's never just listen to my song. Isn't it cool? People, they like what you stand for, the brand. So I really like that a lot. Summer, you appreciate doing those chats. Thank you. Yeah, thanks. I enjoy these. I have a good time. I have like so much stuff in my brain. I just feel like it's all over the place. So it actually helps me to get it out. So I never hesitate to like ask any questions. Brittany, oh, you found me through Jacob's vocal lessons. Oh, cool. Yeah, Jacob, very good vocal teacher on YouTube. So yeah, I've known Jacob for a few years now, actually. Jordan says, thank you so much for your authenticity. Absolutely. Thank you, Jordan. Let's see here. Vinever, oh, do you use Mailchimp? I used Mailchimp. Mailchimp is the easiest one to use. I actually use ActiveCampaign. It just usually has better deliverability. There's better options in there. If you're gonna get started somewhere, I think they have a free version. I'm not 100% sure. If you're committed to it, you know, I mean, it can get expensive. You know, I think I spend $400 a month just for my email camp, but I have a huge list of people, you know, just for to use my email list software. But I send out a lot of emails, you know, based on, you know, whether people are singers or rappers or whether they're part of Music Hustler or whether they're not part of Music Hustler. But what happens is, you know, I have tens of thousands of people on my email list. And if you think about it, let's say I'm releasing an album. Let's say just 1,000 people on my email list, and you release an album and 5% of those people buy, that's 50 people. And let's say your album's $20. It's $1,000 that you made just by sending out one email really quick. You know how many plays you would have had to got on Spotify for that? 1,000 times 750, do the math. That's a lot, but you sent out one email. So it's a lot less effort once you build your list. It is some work to build that list, but it's worth it in the longevity. If you're looking at this as like a long-term career, really, really focus on that list. So, Alex says, do you just ask for their email on social media? So just like I mentioned earlier, if I don't know if you asked this before or after that, after I explained it, but you know, I give out a free song. I tell everybody, I have a screenshot from a music video that I shot that's about to go out. I shared a screenshot and I said, hey, this music video is coming out next week. If you want to, or next month, if you want to see it first before anyone else, you have to give them something that's like exclusive, you know, like no one else is going to see it until next month, but you get to see it. Just DM me your name and your email and the words, you know, preview or whatever it is. And then you can get their email. That's one way. You can do a giveaway. Hey, join my email list. I'm going to give away my album for free and a t-shirt. Join by sending me your email with the words join giveaway or something like that. There's always something that you got to give them. Never expect that if you say join my mailing list, that people are going to rush to do it. You have to give them something for you to get it. So let's see here. Brittany says you'd like to know about royalties, probably the smartest part of doing music. Yeah, royalties. I mean, if you're writing for other people and you own like publishing on other songs, absolutely. Like I know most of the people here are artists, but I have a lot of, you know, one of my friends that's going to be coming on here as well. He actually produced almost my entire album, the last album. He had was a session musician, you know, performing at bars and restaurants and that sort of thing. But he happened to play guitar on a song that went platinum and actually had 1 billion plays on YouTube. And so on Spotify, which led him to getting more opportunities to write and record with other people. So for him, he's gotten, you know, decent money from publishing, obviously, because he owns a percentage of the song. So if some of you guys are wondering how that works, if you work with other artists and you write lyrics or you create a melody, you know, a piano melody, a guitar melody, a bass melody, whatever that is, or if you write the melody of just the lyrics, that sort of thing, you typically own publishing. It's your responsibility to ask for that and get it in paperwork, or they could just pay you up front and do something called a work for hire, where you don't actually get any publishing royalties, but it's totally up to you and what you negotiate and what you want and are comfortable with. But what happens is if those songs get, you know, placed in a commercial, you get a percentage. If it gets placed on TV, you get a percentage. If it does really well on radio, you get a percentage of those royalties. So everything that comes in, you're going to get a percentage of that. So if you own 10% of the writing, then you're going to get that percentage, which is cool. So, and that's something that it's called publishing. So if any of you are interested in writing and working with other artists, I would recommend looking that up, because that's something that's really cool and can lead you to get a publishing deal. If you've ever heard that term, what that means is a publishing company can offer you, you know, 100 grand upfront in advanced royalties for you to write for other artists. You know, if they really like what you've had or you've had some success, they can actually sign you to their publishing company, which means you're exclusively writing for them. They'll set you up in studio sessions, so you get to go work with other producers and songwriters. It's a really cool model. A lot of people do just that for a living. Like, I've met some people who really aren't even that talented. I mean, it's crazy, guys. I've met some people that really are just like, they have a little ounce of talent, but their business savviness is so good. You know, they're just like, you know what, I'm just going to focus on one thing. I write music for, you know, I work with other producers and songwriters, and we submit it, you know, to publishing companies and opportunities for syncing and licensing. And that's how they make a living. So that's something, if you're interested in, I would definitely look up. It's called publishing. Okay, I have a few people that I'm admitting in really quick. Okay, cool. So Kat just says, do you send them to a landing page? Yeah, I do. So that's one thing too. So I'll tell you, there's two things that I do. One, I don't prefer to send people to a landing page. I prefer instead to set up a dialogue. I'm going to tell you why. The reason why I tell people to DM me the words free song and then their email is it's more work. But now I've opened up dialogue with them and I go, hey, thanks so much for joining. Hey, you know, tell me what you think of the song. And then they're going to write back and they're going to be like, man, I really like the song. You know, it's so cool that you've done that. You started a dialogue. And I've told everyone that the type of relationships that you can build with your fans is the most valuable thing you can do. I have one particular fan who spent more than $25,000 with me. I tell everyone it's probably actually more like 30 grand, just him alone, supporting my crowdfunding, supporting my, you know, any music releases that I've done, shows that I've done, you know, anything that I've done. And I have other ones that have spent more than 5,000 too, just from one single fan. You know how many Spotify plays you'd have to get to, you know, make that? So if you can build relationships with people where you open up a dialogue with them, because a lot of them are going to be intimidated by you. You're an artist, you're a singer, you have this cool gift that they wish that they had. You know, almost everybody wishes they could sing. I meet doctors, I meet lawyers all the time. They're like, man, I wish I could sing. That's their thing. They're like, if I could just sing. One of my friends, he's a multimillionaire. I mean, just so successful. And I'll play the piano. And he's always just like, if I could play the piano, I wouldn't care if I was struggling. I would just sit and play the piano all day. Like, everybody wants to be one. So for them, they look at you and they go, wow, that's like a freaking crazy talented person. So they're scared to talk to you. But if you can open up dialogue with them, that's why I always post on my Instagram and Facebook, DM me if you want a free song, DM me if you want to join my email list. Now, occasionally when I'm on live feeds and that sort of thing, like when I go live, then I send them to a landing page because it's kind of hard for me to, you know, be checking and that sort of thing. Instead, my landing page, and I'll show you guys, is grabmysong.com. I'm going to write it in the, so you guys can check it out. You can see my funnel, the way it works. They go to grabmysong.com. There's one call to action. They can't do anything else. Don't have an option for them to buy an album. Don't have an option with a music video. Don't send them, because it's going to confuse them. And there's so many studies that show that when people have too many options, they don't do anything. They choose nothing. Instead, they go somewhere else. But what you do is you create a landing page. You guys can go check out my website. Create something that's really easy, where if you're live on radio or you're live on, you know, your live stream, you can go, hey, go to, you know, singwithvenever.com, or, you know, you can go to, you know, whatever it is, you know, me, you know, carriesmyboy.com or whatever, something really simple, so that, you know, they can, they don't have to think about, oh, they go, okay, cool, I can go to that either now or later. It's not some like www.xyz.com / you know, song / you know, you don't want all that. Something very simple. When they go to your landing page, have one call to action. And then what happens there is, in that email, once they put in their email, you have it connected to a Mailchimp or an Active Campaign, or, you know, any of those other email list software programs. And those email lists, you can have it to where it triggers so that they immediately get a thank you email that comes with their free song. And for me, I have a whole email sequence. Like, I've been doing this for a long time, so I have like 90 emails. So for a whole year, they get emails from me every 3 days. Some of you guys are probably in my email sequence right now, not knowing that I wrote out those emails years ago. Those have been just running, and I continue to write and produce new content. But as you're going through my email list, every 3 days, you're going to get something that says, hey, you know, listen to my music. Or if you're on my email list for, you know, Music Hustler, then maybe you're going to get something, you know, a new tip on how to, you know, grow your Instagram, or how to grow your Facebook, things like that. And then there's always a PS. Hey, do you want to, you need a book? Do you need a list? Do you want to sign up for the private coaching? Do you want to join Music Hustler? There's always a way for you to join. So there's always a way for you to, continue in your journey with me. And then there's a way for me to produce income in my business as well. Watch those emails, watch how I do it, and just copy it. Just copy exactly. Join my my email list and just see what happens when you join, and take notes. And you can just literally just model it right after that, because there's so many things, and you can Google it, you can YouTube it, on how to learn how to do these things, on how to connect the software and programs. It's not hard. It just takes some time. It's been the most valuable thing to me. Every single platform could shut down right now, and I could continue to make a living for the rest of my life just off my email list. That's why that email list is so powerful, because Facebook's who knows, maybe Facebook will get replaced by something else, but there's always different social media platforms, setting up. I remember I had worked so hard to set up my MySpace. I was on there all day, 8 hours a day. I had like 50,000 followers. I was doing good. And then Facebook took over. I lost all of that because I didn't have a very good email list at the time. So it's really important to do that. So let's see here. Venever says, what platform do I use? I've used CD Baby and TuneCore. I've never used DistroKid. I did sign up. I had just read a few reviews. It's the cheapest one. I don't think it goes to as many platforms as the other ones, but it's always changing. So it might, but I had just kind of read some things about it, but I don't know if it's true or not. So I don't want to say because I didn't have any experience with it. So I don't want to be like DistroKid sucks, because I know a lot of people that use DistroKid and it seems like they do just fine. I happen to use TuneCore. It's a little bit more expensive, but it's not much more expensive. I think I spend, I don't know, I think it's $10 for a single a year, and it might be like anywhere from $29 to $49 for an album a year, something like that.
And why would you choose TuneCore over like CD Baby?
I've used,
Baby has they charge on royalties or whatever per song and stuff like that too. I found out.
Yeah, I can't remember exactly the differences. Each one has different things. I don't remember all the perks. I actually did a whole email that I had like a chart that showed like who charges.
Is that in your program?
It's not
somewhere.
It's in, so I actually, all those emails that I told you guys that I wrote, like 90 emails of like tips and tricks, I'm about to put a whole blog on musichustler.com. So you're going to be able to go in there, and it's going to be a whole archive. So you can actually go through there instead of just kind of waiting and hoping that it pops up in your email.
There's a book I was reading that actually has all that information as well. It's
and you can actually Google it.
Do that book because they have all that PDF already.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember where I put the PDF, so I can't just send it to you. But it has all of that. I just can't remember where it is. Otherwise, I'm like, that's why I'm asking you right now. I'm like, I don't know where I put it.
It's real easy to Google. I mean, you could probably find it in 10 seconds. You just I put like DistroKid versus CD Baby versus TuneCore, and then it'll outline. But never go to the website, because if you go to TuneCore, they're going to talk all kinds of shit about DistroKid. DistroKid is going to talk all kinds of shit about CD Baby, and none of it's true, because I did that. When I did my research, I was like, really? TuneCore does that? And I went to TuneCore and that wasn't true. But then they were saying that DistroKid does this, so everyone kind of like, they're trying to like sell their own service. So just make sure to find like a neutral party, or just go to each page and check, how they charge, how they make money. Because some of them take royalties, some of them don't. Some of them you just pay a flat fee, and so just check.
Yeah. A tip for actually getting super fans and stuff too is like figuring out what bands you sound like. Going on Instagram and stuff like that, and actually figuring out who is making the most engagement, because the person who's actually making the most engagement and actually striking up a conversation with them, or just even following them, and then they're going to figure out why you followed them and making 5 points of action on actually interacting with them without selling your music, until you actually make a conversation with the person and be like, oh, that's my favorite song too. Oh my God, blah, 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 blah. This is my favorite band. And actually going through and stuff like that. And then you're like, hey, by any chance, are you into hearing any like new artists or new music, blah, blah, blah. And if they say yes, then that's your chance to be like, okay, well, here, and then send them to like, obviously something on your landing page, not Spotify. We want to do either YouTube or somewhere where there's like actual, or your stuff to actually put those landings, which will get you then, like you would say, like it'd be like engaging interaction and stuff like that. But if you're looking for super fans, it's a really good way to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've done, I mean, I probably got, I was doing about 100 people a day. I was getting about 100 fans a day using, and I've shared this too, and I'll put it in the archive, but a lot of people talk crap about the follow unfollow method, but it really worked well for me. I did it for a year and I got about 3,000 followers a month using it, but it's time consuming. But what it was I went to artists that were like myself, just like you had said, Benever. I went to artists like myself and I went to who was following them, right? And then I would go and I would follow the people who were following them. So I would look up, at the time, most of my stuff was pop. So I'd go to like Beyonce, Rihanna, Alicia Keys, I play piano, John Legend. Those were the big ones, Alicia and John Legend. And what I did was I would go and follow their fans. And then when I reached my limit, I had to unfollow a lot of them, obviously, but a lot of them followed me back. But what I did was, this is where people fail at this. And this is why people say it doesn't work. It does work, but you can't just follow them. What you do is on your Instagram, you show why they should follow you. So what I did was strategically, at the very top of my Instagram, I made sure to have videos of me playing the piano and singing, because I knew they liked John Legend and Alicia Keys. They like them and they're singing and play the piano. So let me make sure when they come to my page, because if they're not drawn to you right off the bat, they have a million other things that they could go look at. I'd have a video of me singing, playing the piano, lots of me playing the piano, going off really crazy, the clip of right in the middle of the song where I'm playing, because I knew if they liked them, I had a much better chance of them following me if they came and they could see immediately that I was a singing pianist as well. So it's the same thing for you. Have your music, have all that stuff at the very top where you follow people who follow the artists that are like you. If you're a rock band, maybe you sound like the Black Keys, you go follow the Black Keys, who their fans are, or maybe you're like a rapper and you like Drake, you go follow Drake's fans. And that when they go to your page, because they're going to be interested, who's this random person following me? And then they check you out. Not only are they going to be interested in following you because you already followed them, it's like an ego thing, like, oh, well, he followed me. I'll help this guy out. I'll follow him too, But then they also might become a fan too, and then hopefully you're posting content that gets them to engage. Hey, DM me, I'll give you a free song. You can say hello, like some of their photos, that kind of stuff. It really, really goes a long way. So let me see what these other questions. Let's see, is publishing complicated? I mean, it's not complicated, but it's something that you need to look up. You need to research. It's just, a lot of people sometimes get mad because they're like, I got screwed out of my publishing. Well, no, you didn't. You signed something that you gave it away. And so it's very important for you to educate yourself on how it works. If that's an avenue that you want to go towards, educate yourself on whatever it is, because too many people are like, I got screwed over. Nobody gets screwed over unless they sign away their rights, right? Because you can always, or if you didn't protect yourself, right? If you didn't copyright stuff, or if you didn't, negotiate correctly. If you signed that, hey, you're just doing someone's paying you $200 and you're not making anything else off the publishing for the rest of your life, that's your fault. It's not their fault. They're going to try to get as much money as they can because that's just what's going to happen. That's like any business, right? It's your responsibility to educate yourself. And then I have a lawyer. So that's the one thing that I have that I spent, it's like, a good amount of money. Anytime I have questions, I always talk to my lawyer because I've made a lot of decisions without the lawyer. But when I first started out, I didn't necessarily need to call a lawyer for everything. As you're building, don't feel like, oh my God, I got to spend all this money on a lawyer. No, a lot of this stuff you can Google, but once you start really getting into building your career and you're generating income and that sort of thing, it is good to start seeking out a lawyer and that sort of thing, depending on where you are in your career. I didn't really have one until I started generating income. I think sometimes people try to jump from one step to way down the line. So really it was more important once I kind of started generating income and getting in sessions with like bigger artists and producers and that sort of thing. So Lottie says, what does the tattoo on my arm say? Okay, well, I got two tattoos. This one says, today I start living. And I wrote this song You guys can look it up if you'd like. It's on YouTube. I volunteer overseas a lot. I was working in a slum in India, and I work with children. I love working with kids, and I go volunteer and I teach music and I teach art and I do those kinds of things. And I recorded a whole music video. It's just of the kids singing, and it's really awesome. I'll write it in here because I love to share this. It's called Today I Start Living, and you can look it up on YouTube. And as I was there in India, it was so powerful, and I just had such a great time. I decided to, in Hindi, get it tattooed on my arm. So that's what it is. And then this is my dog that passed away. Her name was Munchie, but she was fancy, so I wrote Le Munch. So that's her right there. That was like my little best homie. So Alex says, I have over 1,000 plays from countries all over the world, and I've made $6. Yeah. Yep, 1,000 plays. Sorry, that's so funny. But it's the truth. People don't talk about that. They don't talk about it. Instead, they go, you got to have all these plays. You got to have all this stuff. And I'm like, not if you're trying to make money. It can help. Yes, but that shouldn't be your focus. Like, that's all extra stuff. That's cool. Focus on building that email list. Because all you had to do is have one person buy an album and you would have made twice as much, right? You didn't need 1,000 people to listen to it. You just needed one person to buy an album. And you would have made twice as much as that $6. So you can see how it's just a better decision, financially. Oh, that's so funny. That gave me a good laugh right there. Let's see, royalties about a performer. They did not write any of their songs, but their parents own all of their royalties. Yeah, it just depends on what they negotiated to. But I will say this, as a performer, if you're performing in like certain venues, like if you're performing in like casinos or certain registered venues, you actually get paid. I forget what the organization is called, but I think you can get it through like BMI. You actually get paid for performing your own original songs. So they do have, I'm going to look that up. Let me look it up and then I'll cover it in another one, because that's a really big one actually, because you get paid to perform your original music, not covered songs. You get like $100 a song every time you perform it, which is not bad, at like casinos or certain venues that respect it. So let's see here. Brittany says, yes, I don't believe in getting screwed unless it's someone that can actually get a lot of results. Zan says, this might be a dumb question. In your opinion, is it important to get all your songs copyrighted right off the bat? I know people who never do it and people who do it for every song, and I've done it for most of mine, but not all of them. Just curious. It's good to be prepared. Like, it's really, really good to be prepared. I will say a lot of people who think that the world is out to get them never post any of their music. They never share any of their music. They're like, I'm not going to put it out there because somebody's going to steal it. There's a healthy medium. Get it copyrighted, have it done, but share your music. Get your music out there, because you're not going to build a fan base if nobody hears your music. You're not. And it's really about the consistency of how it's not one song typically that's going to, build your success. It's usually many songs. It's Russ had his first #1 after a year of releasing one song a week. And when he started, he was only getting like 100 plays a week. He wasn't getting a lot. But by the end of the year, he was releasing a ton of content. I mean, he did a ton, and he hit #1 on Billboard after that as an independent. Now he's doing like $10 million a year or something crazy.
Should you share your...
Sorry?
Oh, but should you share your music though, if you've not yet, like if you're still working on it?
I do. It depends on what you're comfortable with. I share my music all the time, but I'm like, screw it. I have all kinds of music. I do copyright it whenever it's done. I do copyright, but I share stuff that I have in progress. I share melodies that I'm probably never even going to use. I share all kinds of stuff knowing that I'm going to keep creating. And I would rather not live my life like that, like keeping all of my gifts and talents in here because I'm so afraid of people stealing it. But I still also play it safe, and I still copyright my music, right?
Thank you.
So that's the main thing. And that goes even further into, like, one of my friends called me yesterday and she's like, how do you do this? She's like, I see the comments, because I get a lot. I got 2 death threats last week. Like, I get a lot of stuff. Like, I get people like they hate me and they love me and they're, just all this different stuff. But I get a lot of comments and I have to delete every day. I have to go in and delete. I have someone that works full time just deleting and commenting on things for me. And she's like, how do you do that? She's like, I'd have to stop, right? Because there's a lot, like literally death threats. I get them all the time. And weirdos, really weirdo, like weird people, really strange things all the time. But what's important to think about is if you live your life afraid, you can't make an impact on people. If you live your life where you're not sharing your music and your gifts, think about, like I told everybody the story about how, and I'm going to probably do a YouTube video on this, about how I was performing once at a little bar. And I know some people don't like, they only want to perform on a big stage. They don't want to, make it seem like they're not bigger than who they are. They want to make it seem like they've made it in the business. I performed at this little dive bar in New Mexico, and there was maybe 50 people there. And I had gone into the bathroom, and there was a woman there that approached me, and she said, I haven't had this much fun in a long time. I haven't gone out in like 2 years. And she said 6 months ago or a year ago, I forgot what it was, I was given a year to live, something like that. And she said, I'm not going to be here in 6 months. And she said, my friends had to drag me out. And I thought, if I had wondered about what people were going to think about me, I wouldn't have gone on stage today, and I wouldn't have given that woman this amazing experience, right? And it was just a dive bar. And I had this, and I got to have this impact on this person. I got to be a part of her, whatever that was going to be, her last 6 months, for her to say, and I'm getting goosebumps, but for her to say, I haven't had this much fun. And so, and imagine what that meant to her family. Imagine what that meant to her friends. Imagine what kind of impact that has on them forever. She probably listened to my music. She's probably not here anymore now, because it's been a few years. But that always stuck with me, because I thought, if I hadn't come to this stage today, if I had let my ego get a hold of me, where I had said, no, I don't play at places like that, I don't do that, I wouldn't have had this experience. And on top of that, it's another thing, it's that whole fear-based living. If you live afraid, you can't have an impact on people. And so many people have so many gifts and talents inside of them that don't get out. You have all these songs that are sitting in your Dropbox because you're too afraid that people are going to steal them, or you're too afraid that people aren't going to like it. The news is there's going to be a lot of people that don't like it. And you might, when I show people my inbox, I need to just like do a spotlight Friday, like, look at the death threat I got this week. I've had people call me that actually get my number. 2 days ago, I got someone that got my number and called me from block call, said the same thing, trying to sabotage things. Happens all the time. I've had people go, I know where you live, and tell me my address. Like, it's weird stuff. But you have to decide, hey, am I going to live fear-based? And that's okay. It's your decision. It's your life. You decide what you want. I just like to think, as musicians, we can do so much for the world, which is so important why we share our story, which is so important why we put our music out there, even if we don't feel like it's perfect. It doesn't have to be perfect. It's going to be perfect to certain people. To us, I have music that I'm so embarrassed about that I'm like, man, I can't even believe I wrote that stuff. Like, I have some stuff when I was younger about, like, I don't know, just all kinds of crazy stuff. And I'm like, this is embarrassing. It's really, really embarrassing. And then yet I get probably at least one email a week. Hey, Christine, can you send me that old song that you have? And I think I had mentioned last time, I went on eBay and I saw my CDs on there. There was one on sale for like $75. And I was like, geez, people are paying $75 for the CD. I have like 1,000 of these. I should just put them on eBay and let people buy them for $10. If it means that much to them, I need to give them this CD. People are willing to pay $75. That's crazy. This is a terrible CD, but it means something to somebody. And so that's why I say, like, living in fear and all that kind of stuff can really affect your impact. And if your goal is to have an impact, then, hey, let me not live fear-based. But if your main, you decide for you on what's good for you. I've just made the decision that for myself, when my friend called me and said, how do you do it? I'm just like, it's just the only thing that I can do. I can't keep all these songs and all this stuff inside of me, because I'll just burst. You know what I mean? Like, that'll be the death of me. So I have to get it out, but it never comes easy. There's always struggles and challenges with everything. So never think that, hey, if you're in a position right now where you're building your music career, it's going to get easier. It doesn't necessarily get easier. The challenges just change. That's all. The challenges just become different. So now you're just deal with some other stuff. People tried to sue me last year. I got 2 or 3 lawsuits last year. I've never had to deal with stuff like that. And I'm like, this is weird. I've never had anxiety, like things like that, that I had to look at myself and go, do I want this? Do I want to deal with this? Because of all the, you know, exposure that I'm getting, people are angry about this and that or whatnot. Do I want to deal with that? And I've decided, yes, I'll deal with it. And at the end of the day, do you want to deal with it? You know, do whatever makes you happy.
I have a question, Christine.
Sure.
One thing I worry about a lot is that I can't keep up with comments. Like I don't get a lot of comments or anything, but still I'm not able to respond to like comments on my post on my music or anything. And that causes me anxiety. I'm like, if things actually blow up and I get more comments, I feel like I will not be able to sleep at night knowing that I haven't been able to respond to people. How do you deal with that? Do you have to respond to everything so that people start to engage?
I respond. I mean, I spend about an hour, 2 hours every day responding. I do. I spend a good time responding, but I also have someone else that works for me that I hire that also responds. She responds to all the customer service stuff. I respond to a lot of the personal stuff. I always tell her, hey, if you find something that's very personal, if someone's sharing something very personal about their story, I want to know, because I like to know when people are moved by something or when someone shares something that's very intimate. I want to respond. And if she responds, she always tells them, hey, this is Luna. It's not Christine, so that they know it's not me. Because it's important to me that the fans know that it's not me, you know, but I'm going to send this to Christine because this, you know, she would like to hear this, that sort of thing. So, and then she forwards it to me and then I deal with it. I don't think you should, you know, obviously I've had, sometimes I get people that will write me, and if I don't write them back within like an hour, they're pissed. And I never write people back within an hour usually, unless I just happen to be on Instagram. Sometimes it'll take me 48 hours, 72 hours or longer, you know, and that's why Luna's always on there. But I've had people get very angry, but I just realized they're not for you. They're not a fan or follower, because a true fan is going to be very excited that you write them back at all. The fact that you're writing them back, they're going to be so excited, right? They're going to be like, wow, you wrote me back. That's the kind of responses that I get. I've never, you know, artists never write me back. You know, they don't spend the time. So when you think about it, think it's not a loss. They're not your fan or your customer, I guess. I mean, they're not your friend. They're not anything. They're not anything. They're just someone who's trolling around angry about something. So I would just say, like, I try to get back to everyone within a few days. Personally, but I do spend like an hour usually every day going through there. So, and if you don't have the time, you know, I do it sometimes sitting at a dentist appointment, and sometimes it's short. You don't have to send like a long thing. Sometimes it's just sending an emoji. Thanks, love, little heart. You know, that goes a long way. Sometimes just acknowledging them. You don't have to sit there and go, how was your day? Oh, it's crazy. I saw this movie. The plot was insane. The ending, you're never going to guess. You know, you don't have to do all that. It's just, hey, how'd you like, you know, did you like the song? And they could be like, yeah, I did. Cool. Well, I have something else coming up. I think you're going to like it. I'll post it next week. Would you want me to keep you posted? Sure. You know, little things like that. But the majority of people that I write, it's just a thank you. Thank you so much. And then you can also offer for them to join the email list. You know, hey, thank you. Would you like to join the email list? I'll send you the song for free. So I would just say, don't beat yourself up about that. Because you're not, if they decide that they're not a fan or follower, they're not a supporter, you're not losing anything anyway. People that need that kind of attention, they're cuckoo anyway.
Okay. And then do you think I should, so sometimes what I've noticed is I get a lot of responses to me personally, but not necessarily on the videos themselves. But I want that engagement in the videos, so it looks, you know, it shows that it's engagement. And so when I get a text or an email or whatever, or Facebook DM saying, wow, you have no idea how much your song means to me, blah, blah, blah. I try to say, can you write that comment in the actual video? I don't know, is that a good thing or is that too burdensome? But most of the time they don't write the comments on the actual video. Like, I wish I could have all the engagement put in one place.
That's perfectly fine. You can ask them to do that. Also, if you do live streams, that's a really good time to get engagement, especially if you're giving something away. So if you guys were on my webinar, if you guys remember, if you were on my webinar when you joined this program, at the end of the webinar, I said, all right, guys, I just posted a video that said, if you were on today's webinar, I want you to share what was your light bulb moment. How do you rate the webinar? And all of you guys went to the webinar right there on the live call and you commented. I got You know, sometimes I get anywhere from, I don't know, 30 to 60 comments or something like that. And that looks really good. So if you're doing a live stream, you give something away, right? I gave away an annual membership, if you guys remember that. So something that you could give away, hey, I'm going to give away my whole album if you're performing, or even if you're just going live talking. But anybody that's on right now, go comment on my Instagram post or go comment on my YouTube video. Here's the link. I'm going to choose one person. I'm going to send you a t-shirt, or I'm going to send you an album, you know, something like that. An album doesn't cost you anything. A single doesn't cost you anything. You can email that to them. You know, so something like that can definitely get you engagement real fast, especially when you say you have to post it right now, though. You have to share it right now, or you have to comment on the post right now. And then I'm going to choose someone. If you comment later, you can't win. You know, so you're kind of creating a sense of urgency where they need to go, oh my gosh, okay, if I want to win, I got to do it now. So that's a way to really drive engagement very, very quickly. And, you know, when we talked about landing pages, about creating a way for people to, you know, go to your landing page and decide whether they want to buy something, I take screenshots of what people say. So even if they didn't comment on something, I take those screenshots and then I post it on there so then they can see what people are saying. Testimonials, right? If you have your album for sale there, you know, I have testimonials, you know, right there. So save those, screenshot them, and then you can upload them onto the page as well. So there's lots of different ways that you can go about it.
Thank you.
So no problem. Let me see if there's other questions here. Thank you, Alex. I appreciate that. Let's see here. A lot of you guys are just showing lots of love in the chat box. So thank you. Just checking here to see if there's any questions and specifically. Zan, you said, yep, I've gotten a crazy message. Hope you get gang raped and stabbed. I've gotten those too. Hope you get raped with a broomstick. I get stuff like that. Hope you get burned and left in a field to die. I'm like, all right. Hope you have a good day too. You know, does that mean you want a free song? You know, what do you want? All right. Brittany said, I have a virtual assistant. Yes. Is she a Filipino VA? No, she lives in San Francisco. I do have VAs overseas, but because it's hard with English, you know, it's sometimes their English isn't as, you know, precise. So I usually use all my customer service stuff. I use one girl in the United States, and then for like my research and other things that I need to get done, I get done through overseas. Terry said, thank you so much from Paris. Awesome, thank you. If you depend on the copyright office, do you still need a lawyer? If you're just trying to copyright your music, you don't need to go get a lawyer for it. I mean, you can just copyright it yourself. Just make sure you're doing it right. You know, do the research. I have a lawyer because I deal with contracts and stuff like that. So that's mainly why. Let's see here. Okay, cool. All right, sweet. So that's pretty much all the questions. So real quick, because I know we're already kind of running a little far. These always go so long, so we always cover so many things. But real quick, what I wanted to cover today, just that I feel like we didn't cover after last week. I felt like some of the questions, this is probably something that I'm going to include now in the course because it was a good question. It wasn't something that I thought about. So I talked to you guys about getting in like media and, you know, television and magazines and that sort of thing. But one thing that I didn't tell you guys to think about is think about where you are in your career, right? With being realistic about where you can go. Because some of you were like, hey, I reached out to television, but you weren't ready to reach out to television because your story quite isn't there yet. So what I was going to say is look at where you are in your career before you start reaching out to, you know, some of the bigger media, and ask yourself a couple questions. One, is this local news? Is this national news? Is it global news? Is this something that's going to work well on TV, or is this something that I should focus on for websites, right? Because if your main focus is your music and, you know, maybe you know, you've had something interesting, but you haven't quite dialed in your story yet, but maybe you're releasing an album, you recorded it in your closet, you and your brother created it together, you know, something cool like that. Something like that's not going to get on TV typically. It's usually not possible, but it's usually not. You would be better off reaching out to websites and blogs, you know, music blogs and magazines. You know, you can Google those things, or, you know, if you guys have my Go Viral book, you can go on there and search in your genre and email there. You have higher chances of getting featured for something like that. Now, if you've done something that's global, or done something that's, local, you know, I told you about the gentleman that was on CW recently. He was from Las Vegas, was donating masks to the local hospital, but was also a musician. In Vegas, the entertainment industry is very big. So the fact that all these musicians lost all their jobs was a huge deal. So that was local news because people care in Las Vegas, right? So that's why he was able to get on CW very quickly, because he realized it's great local news, because entertainment is Vegas, right? In major cities, it's going to be like that. And COVID is going on. I'm donating masks, and I released some music. So they featured him, but they didn't feature him because of the music. They featured him because he positioned himself as a musician who lost his job, but he's still donating to COVID, and he happens to have this song, right? So then they were excited that because they also wanted to help him. So as you're thinking about how to reach out to media and that sort of thing, keep in mind, ask yourself those questions. Is my story relevant? Are these people going to care? You know, I told you guys about, you know, start naming the things about you. Are you a parent? Because there's a lot of blogs that support parents. It doesn't even necessarily have to be about music. It could just be like a single dad, single mom, or it doesn't even have to be a single mom or single dad thing. It could just be like parents who are entrepreneurs, or parents who are artists. You know, just, you can find these types of groups and get real specific. Look for them on Facebook. You can find them very easy. I can show you guys really quick how I've done this before. Hold on one second. And then you could reach out there, because if they'll repost for you, oops, why is it not? Okay, hold on one second. There we go. Okay. Hold on, let me do this again. Then you have some exposure, right? And so you want to get as much exposure as you can. And sometimes that doesn't mean you're going to get it right away in magazines and blogs. Sometimes that means you might get shout outs on Facebook groups. You might get featured in a small blog or a small website. And then you use those, and you start using that to position yourself for bigger and better things, right? You take screenshots of those blogs that featured you, even if they're small blogs. You take pictures of the article where they shared your press, you know, release, where they shared your story. And now you put that in your next press release. Hey, look, such and such blog said this, such and such blog said that. You might have links to those articles on there so that they can see it, because it keeps everything is a step forward. So I'm gonna show you guys that here really quick. So here you can go to I think you can just type in like if I was a single mom, I think, is this where it is? I always forget. So I would go groups here. So I'm a single mom. So look, single mothers support. Imagine if I reached out to them, shared my story as a single mom, and then said, and by the way, guys, I just wrote a song about my son. Aren't they going to love that? They're going to want to share that. And you know what? Those mothers in there are probably going to share the song. They're probably going to like it. They're going to follow me. They're probably going to get inspired to do something that they've been wanting to do, right? So that's something like that. Or you can look up, you know, if you're a veteran, you can look up, you know, a veterans group here. Like, these are all different things, you know, think outside the box, right? Here's something right here. VA claims veterans helping veterans, Las Vegas veterans. You can reach out to groups and start to connect with people and share your music there too. Don't go on and spam people. You don't want to do that. You want to go on and build a relationship first. But these are great ways for you to build a following. These are great ways for you to gain some exposure in groups where they're going to care about who you are in your story. Share your story if that's what you are. You know, and if you're looking for, you want to connect with producers, like, this is just such a really great tool that I've used for so many things. Go here to groups. Look, upcoming artists and music producers, producers corner. There's all these things. So if you want to join as a producer, or whether you're looking to hire a producer, or whether you want to offer your services as a producer, or maybe you want to sell those producers your guitar playing abilities. I've done that as well. You know, when I first started out, you know, not only did I follow other artists who were like me, but when I first started selling, I originally had a big course, which I'm going to release again, but it was like 75 videos showing people how to book shows around the world. Basically how I've booked shows, you know, traveling, and how I used to do like 300 shows a year. I did a lot. And I booked a course on that. And what I did was I just used hashtags. That was something that I used. I'd look up hashtag singer on Instagram. And then I would write those people and ask them, hey, have you ever wanted to book shows? I can help you with that. So if you're someone, when you think about monetizing from your music, and I chatted about this last year, it's never just your music. It's never just the sales of your downloads. It's never just your albums and your t-shirts. It's everything, you know, the summation of all those things. Sell your music, sell the t-shirts, sell the albums, sell, you know, but then also do live streams if you can and get tips. Offer you as a singing, you know, as a singer on soundbetter.com, offer your singing to studio sessions, to rappers. If you're a songwriter, post that you're a songwriter online, you know, and this is the soundbetter.com right here. See, look, find a pro, or you can share yourself on here. Look, see how it says, you know, who are you interested in hiring? Not only can you hire people, but if you looky here, I'm talking to like my son. Looky here, son. You can see that not only can you hire these people, but you can list yourself here. So using communities, and I kind of got off on a tangent because I'm talking about making money, but I just, there's so many ways that you can monetize. But here, as you can see, look, if you're a banjo player, if you're a bassoon player, you're a clarinet player, I mean, you can post all of your talents on here and start to make money. But I went off on a tangent. I was talking about the Facebook groups, but I was talking about starting somewhere. I was talking about starting somewhere small, and that's okay. That's exactly what I did. I started off in local newspapers. You know, I would join local talent shows, and then I would take snippets of those newspapers, and then I would take pictures of them and be like, look, I've been in this. And at the time, there was no such thing as an EPK when I first started out. I just had like a folder. And I remember I used to go to like these networking events, and I had a folder that had like, you know, actual printed versions of like articles that I was in, and my bio printed on a piece of paper. It used to cost me a lot of money to print those out, and I would hand those to producers and that sort of thing. But that was how I would build my network. I did that a lot. I did that all over the country, and it was very expensive. We have the you know, we're in a different time now. It doesn't have to be expensive. You can pay $10 a month, $20 a month, and have an online EPK that you can email out to as many people as you want now. So my main point here was, and I'm going to exit out of this now. How do I get here? Oh, there we go. Okay, there we go. My main point is start somewhere. It's not always easy to start right at television. Start somewhere, start on the local blog, start on the local newspapers, or start on the Facebook groups, start on different things where you can get your exposure through people that are going to identify with your story. Start naming all the things about you that have, you know, that make you, you know, sometimes that's, for me, it's being a Latina, right? I'm Mexican. So I told you guys that that's what got me singing at the LA Dodgers game, because they were looking, it was like Mexican Heritage Week. You can also look up, you know, if you're Asian, you can look up, you know, Chinese entrepreneurs, Chinese musicians, you know, if regardless of your, you know, it could be your cultural background. It could be that you're, there's plenty of groups, support groups for women. There's a lot of them on there. There's like women's musicians groups. You can go on there and share your music as well. And you're going to find other people. You're going to attract other people that want to help you as well. If people like you, they're going to want to help you. So there's probably, you know, throughout a lot of my journey, it was never that I like just posted in a place where I knew musicians or I knew media outlets were paying attention. I just tried to get as much exposure as I could everywhere. And then people would reach out to me, right? The LA Dodgers thing, I didn't reach out to them. they reached out to me because I'm always posting, I'm always sharing, I'm everywhere, right? So they knew, hey, there's that girl, she's a Latin, singer, let's ask her. But I didn't even have a relationship with them. But that's why it's important for you to always be posting, sharing on your feeds, getting as much exposure as you can, and then using those little things that you've gotten as exposure to then try to get bigger exposure, to contact that podcast and be like, hey, I was just featured in XYZ magazine and XYZ blog. That gives you a nice cosign so that you can keep moving up to bigger and better things and just kind of get as much as you possibly can. So let me see if there was anything else here. The neighbor says, thank you for being consistent. Oh yeah, I know with the live stuff, I know. I've done a lot of, I deal with a lot of course creators. And I actually, if you guys are, anybody's an entrepreneurs here, if you guys would be interested, on Mondays, I did it one before this. So if, believe it or not, I was on a 2-hour webinar before this, where I coach people on how to create online businesses. It's completely different. It's just online business. But even for them, it's the same thing. Like if you buy courses online, they're usually not going to be here with you. Their main focus is just to make money and keep going or whatever. But again, and that's what, it depends on what your goals are. I really enjoy connecting with people. Like that's what gets me excited. I tell you guys the stories of the woman, that said she was going to pass away in 6 months. Those stories stick with me. I can't pay for those moments. No amount of money can make me feel the way that felt, that day. So it just, depends on, I told you guys about my tattoo, working in a slum in India. Those things mean a lot to me. So I actually care. I care about you guys. So thank you for noticing whenever. I appreciate that. Let's see. Brittany, you said some people I've gotten next to on Facebook. I am shocked. Some very intelligent and successful people. Yeah, you can definitely reach out. I mean, I told you I've met so many people. I reached out, the way that I got in the session with Beyonce's producers, I reached out to them on Instagram. Like I just DM'd them and sent them a video of me playing piano and said, I'd love to produce on one of your records. And, they responded, but I sent a great video that I focused on playing the piano. I didn't sing or anything. I was just focusing on trying to get as a producer, because I figured they're probably getting hit up by a lot of singers. So let me try a different angle. And then once I got in, then they were like, oh, you sing too. And then we created a relationship there, which was cool. But I was looking at what could make me different than everybody else that's reaching out here. So yeah, social media, you can definitely get a hold of a lot of people. Let's see here. Brittany says, lots of advantages to female and minority owned businesses. Yes, guys. I know everyone says it's so hard to be a female in the industry. It is way easier for us than for men. I'm just going to tell you guys, so many doors are open for us, but we just deal with some other bullshit that happens where people, sometimes guys are like weird, but you just have to set boundaries, just that sort of thing. But I always tell everyone, as a female in the industry, there are doors that are open for us that men have to be 10 times as talented to be able to get in. But for some reason, people just focus on, it's so hard for us. It's so hard for us. No, you're responsible for setting your boundaries. You're responsible for saying yes or no, I'm willing to do this or not willing to do that. You have the whole Me Too movement with all the sexual harassment and stuff. And I had to deal with a lot of that when I first started, but that's because I wasn't very clear with my boundaries. I didn't walk into a session and go, you're not going to talk to me like that. For me, I don't deal with that bullshit ever anymore. And it used to happen all the time, but it's very different now. So it's just very important as a female, if you're a female in here, it is not harder for us. It is easier for us, but we just have different challenges. Our challenge is to create boundaries as we go into those sessions. Don't show up to a session at 1 o'clock in the morning where everyone's drinking and getting high and think that, they're not going to think you're down for some crazy times, right? So just make some think about the decisions that you make and then create those boundaries. So, okay, let me see here. Yes. Okay. Yeah, whenever I'll find it on Instagram and then I'll send you the email. Okay, cool. All right, guys. Well, I guess that's pretty much it for today. We covered a lot of content. I'll send out this replay. I'll put it in YouTube again. Let me put the YouTube here so that you guys can, just in case you're not already following it, there's a special folder called replays. So I'll put that in there so that you guys can check it out. I have time for probably one more question. Does anybody have another?
I do have a quick question if you don't mind.
Okay.
So because you've been talking about email lists, I've been wondering, I have many friends and other people over the years, and even recently who've contacted me regarding my videos and so on. And or just people from like years ago that I know were following. Is it appropriate to like text all of them? Can I have your email? Join my email list? Or if I already have the emails, can I just go ahead and put them on there? Or do I
would ask them first.
permission?
Yeah, I always ask them. So even when people, you know how I told you that I say, hey, DM me if you like my song for free. I still have a copy and paste kind of thing. Like I might add their name so that it's customized. Like I might go like, hi, Luke. But then my message says, I'm going to send you this song. Is it okay if I add you to the email list? I just send out some of my songs sometimes. Promise I'm not going to spam you. I'll put like a funny face, you know, but would love to keep you updated if that's okay with you. Just so that they kind of feel like, so they've given you permission instead of them suddenly just getting added to it. So I would do that. And that's a great way to start your email list. I mean, as we're gonna, I feel like this, because this is a topic that we talk about every time, I feel like this will be a good, maybe we could spend a good like month on how to do this. Every week would be good. Because there's a lot of different strategies that you can use, especially in your personal circle. But absolutely, I would say to ask first and just let them know what it's like. Make it seem still fun. Hey, I'm going to send you the free song, but is that cool? I just email maybe once a week. I send out some kind of free songs and kind of keep you updated. Something like that.
Unless we hear otherwise, is the meeting at the same day and time next week?
Yeah, it usually is. It's usually Monday at 1, unless I send out an email. If anything changes, I post it in the group and I send out an email. But that's the goal, is just to do it every Monday at 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time.
Cool.
So, all right, everybody. Thank you so much. I'll be posting the replay. I'll also send it and email it to everybody also.
Thank you.
Yeah, good luck, everybody. I'll see you guys next week.
Bye-bye.
All right, bye.
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 Thank you guys.